Hey guys, STLYoungblood with you for my 3rd Star Citizen Arena Commander video of the evening, if you can believe it or not. Hope you're not getting too tired of me yet, but can you really blame me for being really excited after all this time and finally getting to jump in and get busy with this game? So, overall, the purpose of this video is to show you how you can turn your 300i trainer into a 325, or at least pretty damn close to it. Now, if you don't have a 325, this specifically won't work for you since you won't have the available weapons. However, I think there's plenty of experimentation to be done and some cross abilities between different ships that might make for some fun setups, and I think just knowing how you can kind of experiment with this is the key. Now, I'm going to go ahead and warn you that this isn't always going to be a good thing. For example, the 325 hasn't been finished or balanced yet, and the 300i trainer has one particular benefit that really makes a hybrid setup best for Arena Commander. Now, you're probably wondering what the hell I'm blabbering on about, but really, before I show you how, I want to run down how the 325 and the 300i trainer are different. The primary single most noticeable difference is in the nose gun. The 300i has the Bulldog repeater, which does low damage but has a high rate of fire. It is worth noticing, though, that it is a size 1 weapon, whereas the 325 has the Clausen-Warner mass driver on its nose, which is basically a railgun and does a lot of damage with a lower rate of fire and is a size 2 weapon. So from my testing, the mass driver has almost an identical rate of fire to the wingtip Omni-Sky 6s. That's what's going to be on your 325, 300, 315, etc. Now, the mass driver does high damage and has a low rate of fire, so it's almost the complete opposite of what the 300i's nose gun is. Now, I'm sure there's a place for both of these, but for those of you that own a 325, I would suggest probably starting out and go ahead and do this so you can start practicing with the gun that you're actually going to have in-game. So I'm digressing a little bit, so let's go ahead and get back to how else the trainer and the 325 are different, and there really isn't much else to talk about. They both have the Omni-Sky 6 wingtip lasers, which is pretty damn powerful, at least against the Vandal and the Vandal swarm mode that we have now. It'll be interesting to see how they actually perform once everybody gets their single-seater ships. And both of these actually have the Talon Stalker twin rack missile pods. Now, keep in mind that the last I've seen, the actual in-game 300i does not have missiles. That is only on the 325 fighter or interdictor variant, and that's kind of exclusive, and that's why it's kind of it's got that specific role. Now, where the big differences comes in is with the ammo. The 300i trainer uses the ASIM 09 or hyphen and dash are the same thing. ASIM 09/C marksman missile, while the 325 uses the ASIM 20C Stalker 1 missile. It's a lot of terminology, and it doesn't really matter, and it sounds like a little bit like gibberish, right? Well, from my testing, the marksman is far superior to that of the Stalker. The marksman seems to explode right on the enemy vehicle, almost always yielding a kill, while the Stalker is really pretty hit or miss, and I mean that literally. The 325 missile is going to explode around the enemy craft, and sometimes it yields damage, sometimes it yields a kill, sometimes it gets you nothing, and it's really inconsistent, and that's the biggest problem with it. So I've seen hits that yield several hundred damage points, all the way down to like 15, and then that's not even including when it doesn't make contact at all. So, and that's not real productive in my book, which makes me really hope that we're going to see an upgrade to the 325's missiles where they currently stand, or maybe the 300i's trainer is set up to kind of show off some of the upgraded capabilities that you can purchase later. Either way, I'm not real happy with the Stalker's performance, so much to the fact that I would probably think it's not worth using at all in a fight. They take a long time to acquire, significantly longer than the marksman, and the performance, as mentioned, is really pretty crappy overall. So let's go ahead and go back to the nose guns, and I have to say that even with my slowly increasing accuracy, which is still pretty bad, I'll admit, I find the mass cannon is really rewarding, fun, powerful, etc. You know, the Bulldog on the trainer feels more like a swarm of bees attacking like a rhino or something like that. It's just more of an annoyance than actually productive. Now, you can do sustained damage, but it's not great. So, in an ideal setup, at least for the Arena Commander module that we have now, I would probably encourage you to take the mass driver, the Omni Skies, which all of these setups have, and stick to the stock 300i Trainer Marksman missiles. That's a mouthful. So, now that you know what loadout I'm suggesting, let's go ahead and talk about how to actually make these changes. And I must warn you, it's a little bit wonky, but this is what I've found that worked for me. If you go ahead and go into the hollow table in your hangar, and first you choose your 325 from the ships option. Go ahead and scroll over to the weapons tab and pull off the mass driver, and just kind of leave it off to the right. Then go back over to your ships tab, grab your 300i trainer, and pull up the weapons tab. Then you're going to pull off your bulldog like you did with the mass driver. Now, go ahead and grab that mass driver that's floating off to your right, and then drag it back onto your nose until it's accepted. You can kind of see when it's actually there. And this is where it kind of got into weird territory, and the only way that this has worked for me was to go back to ships, grab the 325, and then install the bulldog onto it. You can then exit the hollow table, run over to your ship, and just make sure that you got the mass driver on it, and you'll notice a big difference. If it's there, you're going to be able to use it in Arena Commander mode. If it's still the tri-barrel bulldog, it didn't take. And one thing that worked for me was to choose another ship before exiting the hollow table. And if you don't have another ship, just switch it over to that turret that's standard in your hangar. So, at this point, you should be good to go. So have fun, enjoy the setup, and get have some fun playing with your mass driver. Now, if you really want to go with the version 0.8 full-on 325, fine. I wouldn't necessarily suggest it, but you can do it. So I'm going to do more testing to see if there's something I'm missing, but I don't think that I am. Anyways, it doesn't really matter. The last difference is to put the 325's missiles into the 300i. Now, you can do that by selecting the 325 first from the Ships tab at the hollow table, then go to the Ammo tab. You want ammo because the launcher is the same. You're just changing the rounds or munitions or ammo or whatever you want to call that missile. Whatever goes into that launcher, that goes in, and that's pretty much it. So from there, pull out the 4 Stalker missiles to the right, just like you did with the nose guns. Then you want to go back to the Ships tab, grab the 300i, and then go back to the Ammo tab, and then pull out the Marksman missiles. Now, since you're still on the 300i at this point, go ahead and drop the Stalker missiles from your 325 into the launchers. And you're going to need to tell which ones are different. They look exactly the same, but if you look off to the display to the left, you'll be able to see which ones you're using, and then drop those Stalkers into your 300i. Okay, now, let me take a breath. Okay, go back to your 325, put the Marksman missiles in it that are still hovering off to your right, and then switch to your turret and exit your hollow table. Now, if you're concerned that it didn't take, go ahead and go back to the hollow table after you exited, grab the 300i, and just double check that you've got the Stalker missiles in there. Jump into the trainer, the 300i trainer, get into Arena Commander, and you're set. Again, that's not an optimal setup. I wouldn't encourage it, but if you want to go full 325, that's about as close as you're going to get. And I know the target audience here is a little bit limited just based on who has these, but I would assume the different variants of different crafts have similar things in place. So as we continue to get more from this game, it's going to change. So I would really encourage you to play around with it. And as I spend more time with other vehicles, I'm going to try and help out however I can. So bottom line is this: if this has helped you, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up, subscribe for a whole lot more content. I guess the takeaway here is the mass driver is awesome. The missile options are a little bit questionable. So, as always, I appreciate you guys watching, and I'll catch you later. Take care.